Oh, that's what it was. I thought he could.
That's going before the Law 5 open.
Yes. All right, here we go.
3, 2.
Check Complete, a referee podcast, is an educational resource for referees by referees, designed to connect and develop soccer officials of all ages and skill levels to better serve the game both on and off the field. Welcome back to the Check Complete podcast. It is season 2, episode number 5. I'm here alongside the one, the only PJ Garcia. Hi, PJ.
Hi, Gordie. How are you?
I think I'm fine. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I found a new Cheez-It Grooves at the gas station. Zesty Cheddar Ranch.
Very interesting. I think I prefer the original, but...
Just regular?
Yeah.
Like just regular Cheez-It?
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. So have you ever tried the grooves?
I have not.
Well, then maybe you don't know what you prefer.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. The grooves are delicious. The white cheddar are fantastic, but the zesty cheddar ranch, this is not a paid ad, by the way. This is not a paid ad. I wish it was. I wish we were sponsored by Cheez-It. Will we get sued for this?
Probably not.
Probably not. But the zesty cheddar ranch, I think, would go over well in the Midwest, right? Because like everyone is obsessed with the ranch in the Midwest.
Yeah. Especially in Wisconsin, they love cheese and ranch.
Absolutely. What's wrong with that? I love cheese and ranch. Maybe I should move to Wisconsin.
Maybe we both should.
Check Complete on the road from Madison next week. We got a few people we know up there. Maybe we can connect. But anyway, yeah, Zesty Ranch, really, really good. But we're here for, what is this, episode 5 of season 2. We got some great content for you. The first thing we're going to do as we get started, before we get into figuring out who you are and just kind of rounding you out as a person, we're going to announce our winner live on recording. Yes. From our participants from last episode, we are launching this week our first Ref Nerd Out segment. I think is what we decided to call it. Is that what we decided to call it? Is that what we're going with? Ref?
Yes.
Nerd
yes.
Out. Ref Nerd Out. Okay. So Ref Nerd Out, we are starting our first segment of this, and I'm very excited. And we had asked you, the listener, watcher listener, if you're on the YouTube side of things, to send us what you think we should nerd out about. And we tried to keep it as open-ended as we could, right? Because we didn't want to box anybody in. But we had some wonderful suggestions. You all showed up and showed out very nicely. So we have everyone that submitted is... You thought this was coffee, didn't you? You were very scared. You thought I was going to dip my fingers in scalding hot coffee. But I'm not. We have everyone who completed submitted something. We wrote them on tiny slips of paper, and they're inside this cup right now. And I'm stirring it up. So we're going to draw them, and I will say this is executive decision. We have not discussed this as a Check Complete staff, but we're going to continue to add to this cup over the few weeks. So if you continue to submit ideas to us, we'll submit your name on a similar tiny piece of paper and put it inside this beautifully decorated Check Complete podcast mug. Draw your name. If your name gets drawn, we'll be in contact with you, with regards to a prize of some kind. So, yeah. So, would you like to do the honors?
I would love to.
Okay, cover your eyes. It's like he's never drawn anything before. All right, here we go. All right, reach in there. Careful. Whoa, easy there. Okay. I forgot the I. Keith Smith. Keith Smith. Pretty sure that was supposed to be Keith. It says Kev. It says Kev. Pretty sure it's Keith. Unless you're out there, Kev, it's a beautiful name. It's my mother's name. Anyway, no. So very good, Keith. Congratulations. We'll be in touch with you, Keith, and we'll have some items for you to choose from the Check Complete podcast. So thanks for engaging. Mm-hmm. You too could be misnamed and drawn from the mug if you also submit for next week. Okay, so please, that can be on the Book of Faces. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at check_complete. You can reach out to us over the email as well, info@checkcompletepodcast.com. Facebook Messenger. I mean, there's lots of ways to get in touch with us. So we want to hear from you. So we'll do that. All right. So before we get into we've got our Ref Nerd Out segment for this week, and we're excited about that. Before we get into that, we are going to get to know, as we do, our co-host. So this week, our guest co-host, PJ Garcia. And what's the PJ stand for?
Peter Joseph. Peter Joseph.
Peter Joseph.
Yes.
Very
Catholic
good.
family. So.
Catholic family. There you go. Excellent. So Peter Joseph Garcia. All right. Tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from?
I am originally from Overland Park, Kansas, but I've also lived in Australia and in England.
Wow. So, how'd you end up over there?
Family's work.
Oh, family's work. Okay, gotcha. Very good. Excellent. All right. And are you allowed to tell us what kind of work that was?
It was, my dad works for Hallmark.
Okay.
So he's selling dwindling numbers of greeting cards.
Excellent. Very good. All right. So it works for Hallmark. I thought that was like never mind. Anyway, so awesome. So you've been an avid soccer, football supporter for a long time.
Yes.
As you traveled the world, you got to see a lot of that.
Yes, of course. Since more or less the day I was born, I've been playing and watching as much as I possibly can. So
yeah. So you grew up, went to high school here in the Kansas City area.
Yes.
And when did you start officiating, and how did that begin?
I started in England at 13 years old.
Okay.
I was not a registered or trained match official, but my father decided he no longer wanted to referee my little brother's team. So I was given that job, and I loved it ever since. Okay,
very good. And you brought your water bottle to the pitch side?
Yeah.
In it? I'm sorry. Anyway, so you started there, and those were, what, one-man crews?
Yep.
Don't they do that pretty much?
Up
Very
until
frequently. A certain age, right? It's pretty much all.
Depends with the numbers of match officials, how many are available.
Sure. Fair enough. Okay, so you picked it up and kept going when you got back to the States.
Yes, I registered officially in 2015.
Okay.
It was a good job through high school.
Yeah.
And then when I discovered that I wasn't good enough to play in college, I began refereeing more seriously to stay involved in the game and stay involved with the many people and friends that I've met.
Very good. So where are you at in that journey right now? I know you've taken some steps. Like you said, you've been involved, but you've had some other opportunities. Doors have been opened for you. You're walking through them. Tell us where you're at in that process.
Yes, I am a high school and college official for the past 3 years in the Kansas City chapter, and I'm in the process of upgrading to a regional referee.
Very good. Very good. So you are outside of soccer. What's PJ's life look like right now? Where are you at in life?
I'm a Master's of Accounting student at the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
There you go. Yeah.
And I do that. I referee. I try to watch as much football as I can.
There you go.
And that's about it for me.
Okay, excellent. And you had an internship.
I did. I had a summer internship with an accounting firm this summer in Kansas City.
Very good. Yeah. So that's the goal.
That is the goal.
That's the goal. Okay, so how long is the program that you're in currently?
1 year.
1 year. It's what is it again? A master's in?
Accounting.
Master's in accounting. Okay. Sorry, I almost fell asleep when we talked about that. So master's in accounting. Okay, very good. So, how do you anticipate? I know you haven't gotten into the workforce, in the accounting workforce and that kind of thing, but how does that, and maybe you haven't looked into this so far, but how does that career lend itself to flexibility to stay involved as an official?
Yes, well, there are obviously certain times of the year when it's more flexible and certain times when it is less flexible. But especially during the summer and fall, the job does have very good flexibility to leave the office early or to come in even earlier.
Gotcha.
And then if you work for your own private firm, obviously you get to set your own hours.
Sure.
So that's a very good way to run your own business and remain flexible.
Sure. And I ask that because there's a lot of folks that, as they're mapping out their lives, at a younger age, whether that be high school or especially in college, they're looking at it going, okay, I've kind of fallen in love with the referee side, and I know what I'm passionate about vocationally. Will these two things coexist? And if not, how can I make them coexist, or does something need to change? And so that's where that question comes from, is I know there's a lot of folks that have probably been in your shoes or are in your shoes, whether it be a college student, a master's student, or even an adult who's an accountant that might be watching this, going, okay, I wonder if I can make this work. And it seems like the answer is yes.
Yes, right? Absolutely. And especially in college where you have the flexibility to set your own schedule.
Yeah.
I finish class most days at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where I can go on a Friday at, 3 o'clock to do a game where most other people have work and are not available.
Right.
And so that when you're in college really can open doors for you and to help you move to games that are a step for you and a challenge for you to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, not to put you on the spot, I mean, I guess that's what we're doing here, but what are your goals and aspirations relative to officiating?
My first and foremost goal is to become a regional referee and perhaps referee a regional final. Mm-hmm. More on the dream side, obviously I'd love to go to the World Cup someday. Mm-hmm. We have some amazing mentors around here who, help us achieve those goals and dreams. But
good.
If I could make refereeing a career someday, that would be fantastic.
Sure, absolutely. Good stuff, man. Well, any words of wisdom or parting thoughts or anything on the back end of our conversation here relative to the Check Complete podcast audience?
You can make time you can't make time, but you can make your own schedule and you can be as flexible as you're willing to be to do a job that you're passionate and love doing. So if you love being a referee, pursue it. Don't give up.
Absolutely. Very good. We're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and we're going to nerd out. Okay. And I won't tell you about what yet, but we will nerd out. We'll be right back. The Check Complete podcast is brought to you in part by JF Consulting Tax Preparation and Bookkeeping. Taxes suck, we can help. It is time for our first ever referee nerd out.
Yes, I'm an appropriate co-host.
Yes, we're going to nerd out with our accountant friend here. Nerd. Anyway, we're going to nerd out about, I felt like there was really only one way to start our first ever nerd out segment series, and that is with whistles. And this is all of your whistles?
These are all of my whistles so far. Considerably smaller collection.
No. It's not about size. But this is these are my whistles. Okay, these are not all of my whistles. I should say I have a set for basketball as well. But these are my soccer whistles. Okay, basketball whistles are much smaller. It's in a small little tackle box that I have. But we could nerd out about what you keep those in. Let's start with that actually. You keep yours in I have a little accessory bag that I put it in. So I put them in that little middle section here.
Yep.
Right in there.
I do the same, just with no badges.
Yes, gotcha. So, okay. So we have several different options here. Would you like to give us a tour, perhaps?
Yes, I have a wide-ranging color selection of Fox 40 classics. Pink, green, yellow, white, and black. In addition, I have the cushioned mouth grip.
The old CMG.
Yes. The Fox 40 Pearl, which I don't like.
That's terrible.
And of course the Valkene, which I feel is a necessity for every regional referee to have.
The granddaddy of the whistles. Okay, fair enough. So how do you decide what color? You also have the old CMG on this boy too.
I do indeed.
Okay, so how do you decide which whistle to use?
Depends if I'm in the mood to be deafened by myself or not.
Fair enough.
Typically I will use the Valkene and I will attach one of the other whistles for grip. It depends the color based on the mood I'm in that day.
Okay. I think the pink is always a good one to have in the event that you show up and they're doing like a pink out or something. It's always nice to show some solidarity with the programs or something. They're doing a breast cancer awareness or a pink out of some kind. I always like to have that. I also have two sweatbands that are pink
Yes.
that I keep in my bag
Yes.
just in case I show up and it's a pink out night. Even in basketball, I have a pink whistle and a pink lanyard because we still use lanyards in basketball. So I'll wear those just kind of as a sign of solidarity with them. So, okay, very good. So, and your favorite?
My favorite is the Valkene.
Okay. And your least favorite?
My least favorite, the Fox 40 Pearl.
The pearl.
It's very odd sounding in my opinion. But
What was your first whistle, a Fox 40?
my first whistle was a Fox 40. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very affordable, very reliable, and probably the best sounding one.
Yeah, a constant, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
everybody, I think, is familiar with the Fox 40 whistle. In fact, when we teach our entry-level clinics in our state, we always tell folks, if you get a starter kit that has a P whistle, melt it down or throw it away or something, and just go get yourself a Fox 40 whistle. In fact, oftentimes we'll say, if they go, what's a Fox 40 whistle? We'll say, have you been to a pool?
Yes.
For a lifeguard's whistle,
Mhm.
it's that whistle. So,
The same whistle used in the National Football League.
right, yes, officials at every sport and every level are using this tried and true whistle that is the Fox 40. So very good. All right, excellent. Well, I've got several here. So I have one in every color actually I should say now with the new purple. I was just looking at this. I now need to purchase a purple whistle.
Indeed, you do.
Because what I typically will do, and I was doing this, and then I found out I did not copy John, but John does this as well, Freeman. But I will typically pair the whistle of the jersey color I'm wearing to the back end of my Valkene. I can hear judgment across the world, but I will do that. So, like if we're wearing green that day, then this is my combination. And I like you said, it just feels a lot better. I know there's some that I do have the finger grip for this, but I don't particularly like that because it's hard to I'll rip my front two teeth out, you know.
And it's difficult to switch hands as well.
It's difficult to switch hands. So I will do that. So yeah, these are all the Fox 40s here in all the different colors. Sometimes I'll just, if I'm feeling just normal, I could do that, or just have the plain black one too. I will actually, during the match, switch which whistle I use based on what I'm doing. So like during the game, during dynamic play, I'm pretty much exclusively using the Valkene, and because I can vary whistle tone and length and all that very easily with this. But if we, like during substitutions or things like that, I will switch and just use a lighter tone from the Fox 40. So beep, beep, sub, or get ready to restart play, sub. So I will actually use both whistles during a match. But I've got a few others here. This is I bought this a while back just out of curiosity because I wanted to see it. It's the Fox 40 Fusion CMG grip. It's got the cushion mouth grip, but it's Fusion with a Z. I sent them a letter that they misspelled. I think they knew it. I hate this whistle. I think it's terrible. I don't know why. I think it's terrible. I've not seen very many soccer officials use it. I have seen a few basketball officials use this whistle, but I don't like the tone. It feels heavy, and it's like you have to put a lot of air through this, and you don't get a lot out of it. So, don't like that. I do have two minis with the CMG on it. None of my Fox 40s have the CMG. But I have two minis, and I use these for futsal. So when I do futsal, I'll pair either these to each other, or I will pair it to the Acme Tornado, if you've ever seen one of these. We see this a lot in
CONCACAF.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of Mexican and Central American referees that will use this whistle. I personally don't like it because it's like when you blow the whistle, it's like coming right back up in your face. You're like, oh gosh. But I will pair it and do futsal like this and use this if I'm the third official for timeouts, 5 fouls, that kind of thing. It's such a vastly different tone than anything else here. And then you've got the Fox 40 Sonic Blast. This is like the tank of the referee world.
Yes.
Right? This is a beefy boy right here. And this puts out some serious noise. I don't really use this very often. I've used it some, but it's got a similar decibel reading to the Valkene. In fact, it might even be slightly more. I'm not sure. Yeah. And then there's two variations of dolphins. There's this indoor dolphin that's got a B on it, which I want to say is for basketball.
Perhaps.
Maybe. So this is advertised as more of an indoor version of the dolphin that can be used for basketball or volleyball, or even I've seen some like swim and dive. I guess they have whistles. I don't know. I guess is someone drowning, they blow it. I don't know.
You watch swim and dive.
Avidly. And then we have the outdoor, what was I saying? Dolphin. That's right. With F on it for maybe football, perhaps?
Football, various varieties of football.
Right. Various forms, American and otherwise. And so this is very comparable to, this is like the great value Valkene.
Indeed, yes.
Right? Best choice if you're that kind of a shopper. So, but I love it. And sometimes I'll pair these two beasts together, and I feel like,
Yes.
like don't mess with me, man. Mm-hmm. I got these. You know what I'm saying? Like, or don't mess with me. So, but then there's the Valkene, and let's just be real. Like, this is incredibly unnecessary for the matches that we're primarily working.
Well, I have yet to be in a stadium of 25,000 people that I need to drown out.
Right. When I see it advertised for like big stadium officiating, and I show up to my local high school match and deafen everyone within a 10-foot radius. But I just love it. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I spent nearly $50 on the item. But and you're the same way, right?
Indeed. It's very reliable. You always know what you're going to get.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. Sometimes I just like set it out on my counter and just look at it.
This also is not a paid Molten advertisement.
No, it's not a Molten advertisement. I wish it was. Molten, if you're watching, we will take contributions.
Or free whistles.
We'll take it. I need to upgrade. So most of this, I mean, like these Fox 40s you can get for what, $6? $7?
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping, right? You can get a lot of these in the basic black one at your local sporting goods store, things like that. Some of the other stuff, when you start to get into the fancier stuff, the Fusion is, I don't know, whatever. Stupid, don't buy it. The Blast, probably less than $10.
Yes.
The Dolphins, I want to say were around 15 or 20. Does that sound about right? 15 or 20?
And then, of course,
For
the
those-
Valkene at 50.
Around $40 to $50 for the Valkene. Yeah, which is, I mean, for those of you that are not referees and you're watching this, not sure why, but anyway, I'm just kidding. Thank you for watching or listening. That probably sounds absolutely bonkers that you would spend that much money on a whistle.
And it is.
And it is. It is. We're not even going to defend it. But it is. It's a remarkable piece of equipment.
It's a very good piece of equipment.
Yeah, very good. And then the Tornado, I don't know how much that costs. Probably similar, less than $10.
I don't own one. I couldn't say.
Yeah,
but
probably around 10, somewhere in there. So
certainly
bad.
less than the Valkene.
yeah, the
No doubt
three-chamber
about that.
technology. So it's probably like
yes.
$3 per chamber.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
$9.
A total
$9 plus tax.
$9
Yes.
chamber, 3 chambers. Anyway, so we've nerded out with whistles. I would love maybe we'll do a poll. We'll do something.
Should do a poll.
Check on the socials and engage with us about what your favorite whistles. We'll do a poll. And if we've missed something on here, like I know there's a bunch of other whistles that we've missed.
Of course.
That I've seen, like the Shark, and there's the Train
Yes.
whistle that's not used ever.
We did not review the P whistle.
We didn't. We did not review the P whistle for a reason. We don't want that. So anyway, thanks for nerding out with us. If we have neglected part of your nerd out for whistles, please reach out to us and nerd out with us. Because nerding out is only as fun as the nerds that you're with, right? Put that on a t-shirt.
I'll go make one now.
Very good. We'll be right back. The Check Complete podcast is brought to you in part by JF Consulting Tax Preparation and Bookkeeping. Taxes suck, we can help. I am super excited today to have a really special guest with us, Rubiel Vazquez, pro referee, FIFA referee, all-around great guy. We're excited to chat with you on the Check Complete podcast. Rubiel, how are you, sir?
Good. I'm excited to be here. I mean, it's not every day that we get to chat like this. I know we did it a little bit of like 2-3 weeks ago in Kansas City after a game, but now we can really sit down and have a one-on-one. And you had some special guys come here. Mr. Kyle Atkins, Chuck Freeman, Rockwell has been here. So super excited to be here as well. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. We are so thrilled to have this conversation, to hear a little bit about your story. And as we've done this with other referees, like you said, many, just all sorts of types of folks that have come from different backgrounds, it's exciting to hear feedback from our listeners that can find themselves in your story and can go, you know what, I can relate a little bit to that. And hopefully those of you that are watching or listening to this can connect a little bit with the story and find some encouragement on your journey wherever you're at as a referee. So let's start from the beginning. Let's just, if you could just introduce yourself and maybe talk a little about who you are on, off the field, and then we'll get started kind of in with how you got started as a referee and worked your way up to where you are today. So just kind of a basic introduction.
Yeah, so same thing, like you said a little bit, started refereeing in 2006, got my first badge. I was playing club soccer, and the coach was like, "Hey, we like to make some money on the weekends refereeing." And I was like, "Sure, why not? Let's get it going." So got me signed up and started to doing games on the weekends right away. And moved our way up like we've all done through US Soccer, little by little. I cannot tell you when I became a state referee. Now it's called regional referee, but back then it was grade 7, state referee, national candidate, national, and then into pro. But it took me a little bit, to get those passes. Going through regional tournaments, state cup, local tournaments, went to nationals. 2 years, went to regionals 3 years, I believe. So that was a really good opportunity to get in those games before I actually got my first professional game, which was a USL game in Orlando City, back when Orlando was not in MLS and in USL, and that was my first professional game. It was Brian Pushell and Mark Cahan, my crew.
Wow.
Back then. Yeah. So super stoked to work with those two. I mean, two local guys that I came up with in the game. So it was amazing having them two on my first ever professional game. So that was good. And that was, I'm going to say I was like 22, 23 years old. So I was very young, and needed a lot of experience. So those two guys on the line kept me through the game and helped me out a lot. But that was my first. Then I got into the league, into MLS in 2000 and was it 15? Or 2017, I believe it was 2017 that I came in as a fourth official, and did 2 years as a fourth official. Then finally got a contract. My first whistle was in 2017, Minnesota United versus Columbus in Minnesota, July 4th. I forget. So that was my first game, and then 2 years after, I got my full-time contract to be with pro, and then in 2020 I got my referee badge for FIFA, and it's been amazing since then. Off the field stuff, like I told you, played club in high school for a couple of years, then went on to play actually college soccer for 3 years at a NAIA school down in Florida Memorial University. After my second year, going into my third, I'm like, how long do I want to do this? Mm-hmm. I knew I wasn't going to be a professional player, obviously, but I wanted to keep playing. I wanted to keep being on the game. So I wanted to take refereeing a little bit serious. So that third year, going into my third year, I still played, but it kind of stepped back a little bit and started really getting into refereeing. And I knew I couldn't ref college I got out of playing. So I actually, right after my third year, right when I finished, I made the decision I'm not going to come back my fourth year and just focus on refereeing. So I got into the college chapter the year after and started to ref and focus completely into the reffing. Then got married and now I have 2 kids. So life really throws you things really quickly. But yeah, it's very difficult with full-time refereeing and how much we travel. I mean, you've seen how many times we're gone all the weekends, and it's not the same when you're coming up, right? Because you're going to youth tournaments, you're leaving home for for like a week, but then you're back for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you're reffing back youth games on the weekends. So you're still home. Now we travel every weekend. We go to camps every 2 weeks. So it's a lot of time away from home, and with 2 kids, it's very difficult. But I'm sure John was here, so I'm sure he can tell you with 3 kids, it is not easy. So it's to manage the time is tough. But yeah, that's pretty much my on the field, my off the field, getting in there.
Yeah, that journey along the way, very interesting in managing and balancing. So couple follow-up thoughts that I'm curious on. One thing, and this has been a conversation we've had recently with a couple Kansas referees, are those who are players and are trying to navigate, okay, how long? Because I think most of them know the writing on the wall, right? Like, I'm not going to end up, right? But they're like, hey, I'm young. I've got legs underneath me that I still enjoy the game from the playing side, but I'm excelling as a referee. I'm moving up. I'm enjoying these things. This is not in the script, so I'm throwing you a curveball here, I guess. But is there any word of advice for those who are trying to navigate? How long do I keep the playing career? When do I shift to referee? I know you had that kind of.
Yeah. 100%. I made it so, first of all, if they can play, by all means, I will always tell guys, go play college soccer. The opportunity that I got to do it, it's amazing. But even more than that, it kind of related to the refereeing. I got to see a little bit more of tactics and again, we were not professional players by any means, but I got to play 3 more years of soccer. So I think that knowledge helped me out to transition into the refereeing world, especially when I got right into college right after. I got a little bit of feeling of how it worked, and I got to see me as a player. I had guys referee me like Mark Cahan, Jonathan Wiener, these guys that that came up through the system, Lance Van Heisman, all those guys referee my college games. So I got to see a little bit of them, their professionalism. I love how they came in to the game all together with the polo, blah, blah, blah. So I got to see this while I was playing. So it kind of gave me that little bit like, hey, I would like to be there, but I enjoy the playing. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. I would, if I'm being honest, I would have probably stayed 1 more year playing, but my desire was to then take refereeing really serious. So if my advice to those that really want to take refereeing serious and know that, hey, their playing career, it's kind of over and that's it, I will take the refereeing route. If you're in a full scholarship, by all means, finish that scholarship. Get your degree, finish what you had to do. I was about 70% on a scholarship, but I had financial aid, so I was able to get the school paid even if I didn't play it. And that's why I made that decision to say, hey, but if I was getting full scholarship just to play soccer, I would have definitely kept it 1 more year and finished my school by all means. So if you have the opportunity to finish this, by all means do. But if you can balance both and you think you're ready to take that step to the next level of refereeing, it's definitely a good time to do it, then do it. But
absolutely. Yeah, I would encourage, that's such good feedback. And I would encourage those of you that are in that boat. I've had conversations with people when I've been at regionals the last few summers, now transitioning to a mentor role, when I've talked to referees that are in that struggle very much. If you're listening and you're in that, have a conversation with your state administrators and trusted mentors and people, because it is definitely not, like, even as I hear you talking about that, it's definitely not one size fits all for everyone. Like it's different. Like you talked about the financial aid piece, you talked about, it's just so
many things.
Yeah. So there's so many factors, but to hear from you in your journey, that can be helpful for folks. But I would just say, beyond anything else, start that conversation with trusted people in your life, especially in the referee community and even outside the referee community, right?
Yeah. Family as well. I had to talk with my family before I did it. I had to make sure, like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm transitioning from this to fully out of playing, and also with the coaches too. It wasn't easy telling my coach, hey, I'm done 1 more year and then that's it. So that was a little bit tough, but that was my decision at that time, and now looking back, for me, it was the right decision.
Yeah.
At that point.
So I want to get into the pro side and the FIFA side and all that stuff, because that's so fascinating and cool. But I don't want to leave out the college side, because you've had success officiating at the collegiate side. Talk about what that has been like and what the college game means to you.
Oh, it was, I mean, the college game, I know there's different rules and stuff like that, but some of the best games I had were college games. I'm gonna tell you that for a fact. And I got to do the NCAA, the Division I final for men in 2016, maybe, or 17, one of the two. And talk about building relationships and knowing people. The captain for Georgetown, it was Georgetown, I remember this, but the captain for Georgetown is Niels. Now he plays at Red Bull. His brother is also the defender of Red Bulls. So every time we see each other, I get to have that little word with him. He's like, hey, good to see you. So that's a little relationship. And 2 or 3 guys too. Veronico from Charlotte, a referee when he was at Charlotte. So like all these guys that you referee, never thought that would be here now. Both of us are in MLS. So that's a nice little kind of, I wouldn't say relationship, we don't have a relationship at all, but it's a nice thing to have that we can come back and say, hey, after a game, good to see you. Great to see you from back in 2017 when we had a college game, and we have that memory to share, I guess, for the future. So the college game was great to me. A lot of difficult games, and it wasn't just D1. I'm talking about NAIA games were so difficult. They were very, very hard to manage. So all of that gave me some tools to take it to the next level for sure, especially in the management part. And transitioning into working for youth games into the college games, right? So it was a little bit weird because different tackles, different aspects of the games, a little bit more coachable oriented. So coach has a little bit more strategy than the other, but it was hard. The harder for sure was in managing the players. That was the hardest thing to do, that a transition from youth to college soccer. So that definitely helped to then manage players at the next level 100%. But definitely treated me right, college soccer. I cannot complain at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. So we talked about the play, and you kind of already hit on this, but playing, I mean, one of the things I always ask the referees that played at a high level or played soccer in their journey, how that forms and shapes how they referee now. It sounds like that impacted you, especially at college. You mentioned some of those names, and just seeing how they kind of were models for you in some ways, right? How are there other ways that playing, especially collegiate soccer, but just your playing career, informed how you referee?
I think so. I think the way you look at the game, I think the way you saw players movement, and it kind of helped you the vision and how the game is going to play. So we all have formations, right? We all study the formation of the team when we go to a professional game, right? What are they going to play? A 4-4-2, a 4-3-3? Are the wings going to go all the way up? And the game has changed drastically since I played college till now, right? It's completely different. I actually remember we used to play in college 4-5-1, one striker all the way at the top. And we built out from the back, and kind of everything went through him with a number 10. So those things, I don't see much 4-5-1s anymore, right? Now you see a lot of more on the wings, everybody going through the wings a lot more. So that helps out more. But it kind of gave me, playing that college soccer, gave me those little bit of tips to see how the game will be played at the next level, you know, how the defense runs, how the midfield moves. So maybe now me not being on the wing. So I saw it from the back. I saw how everything developed. So that helped out definitely. And I know a lot of professional players that transition into refereeing to say the same. That helped him a lot in that side and aspect of it. And you know, just your coach, the way he explains your formations, the way we do practices, all of that translates into the field. So I think all of that has helped me to see what plays they're going to do. How are we doing those free kicks? You know, I can tell you there's a couple of times where I know what's going to happen because we used to practice it in college. And again, it has changed a million times, but it kind of keep the same aspect of it. So that definitely did help out a lot.
That was able to stick with you, even though college is what, 30, 35 years ago, right? No.
Whoa. You're not that far off though. I played 2009, 10, and 11. So we're talking about almost 9-10 years ago. So
we don't have to talk about it. All right.
Very, very true.
That's too good. So on the professionals, on the USSF professional side of things, obviously you talked about some of those key benchmarks that a lot of our referees that listen and engage with the podcast are, in the middle of attending, right? The state tournament, state cups, regionals, those formative moments, getting a state, now regional badge, and moving up in that process. So what were some of the highs, some of the lows as you went through, and you're still very much in that, right? Like we're still
100%.
Are very excited to see where your career continues to go. I know I personally always enjoy, and I want to get into this a little bit later, but I always enjoy watching you referee. I love watching you manage players and your demeanor on the field. And so I'm excited to see where that continues to go for you. But what have been some of the highs and lows for you as you kind of moved through that? Because many folks are in that pathway, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember more the lows than the highs.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody remembers their bad games, and who tells you they don't, I don't know what to tell you. I think they're lying.
Yeah,
I can remember every single one of my calls that I messed up, but the good games is another game, So, but I think why we remember the bad ones is because those are the ones we learn from.
Yeah,
so those are the ones that you go back and really like, okay, what can I do to make this better? The good ones, it's another game. It happened. Okay, I see the little things I did well and moved on. The bad one is what can we move from that? But if we're talking a bigger picture of the low and the goods, low times were just, I would say, a couple games. There was a couple of hiccups in between games where you fell down. You messed up. I can tell you for a fact. I remember Open Cup game, Charleston versus Orlando City. I called the penalty for in 100 and we're in extra time, 100 and something. I was out of position. I called the penalty for Orlando City, and when I watched the replay, clearly never a penalty, and kind of cost the game to Charleston. So those things remember, and I was like, okay, what can I do now to get into that position? Right. But I know after that game I was coming up. That was right before I get into MLS. I was coming up, so I was like, man, this is a huge hit for me. Like, am I going to get another opportunity, right? You start going into all those things into your head, like, am I done? And this is the end of me. And, and you're going to start to think those things. But the best thing you can do is find somebody that you can talk to and be like, hey, this happened to me. But you know what? This is what can we do to get better? And we got to move on. If you stay stuck remembering and every day thinking about that, and even into your next game thinking about that, it's going to get worse. So this person helped me to say, hey, let's see how we can get this right? And we just talked about positioning, about running. This is how we can get it right. This is how you can see to get the right decision. And then that's it. We moved on. Then let's get ready for your next game and move on. So when you're on your low, definitely get somebody to have a chat. Could be family members, could be refereeing friend, could be a mentor, like we talked about a little bit before. I would definitely advise a mentor. So like that, we can talk a little bit more about the refereeing side of it. But get somebody that can help you go through those, because it will happen. I can tell you it will happen. There's no way anybody can tell me all my games have been perfect. It's never going to happen. But get people to help you through those 100%. I never got selected to do a nationals final. I never got selected to do regionals final, and those moments I just said, hey, it wasn't for me. I just got to push on to get the next final, to get the next game, to get the opportunity to be seen at pro. So those moments when you feel like, oh, things are not going your way, keep going, keep going until you work hard as much as you can. And if it happens, it happens. If not, I know you did your best to get to where you had to be. So that's my advice on that. And for the good, for me, the highs, I just got the opportunity to referee at the Gold Cup, right? It's the highest tournament in CONCACAF. So, talk about an opportunity. And luckily my crew were Kyle and Parker. So two guys I went to a World Cup. So that kind of helped out a little bit on my confidence getting into those games. But talk about a high. That's the highest we can do as a referee, FIFA referee in the CONCACAF region, is to referee the Gold Cup. So I was able to do 2 of those games in this last year's tournament. But apart from that, just getting the FIFA badge, huge accomplishment. Getting into a pro period was a huge accomplishment for me and a big deal. International friendlies, I just got finished with Kyle and Corey in New York, Manchester United Arsenal, so like 82,000 people in MetLife. What an experience. Brought my family with me so they can come and watch. But talk about a great experience, and those are just international friendly games, you know. So it's not just the oh, I got this final. This is also the this type of games that are a big deal. But at the end of the day, it's like who comes with you and who can share this moment. And then like I told you, you know, never had an opportunity to do a final at regionals, at nationals, but just the opportunity of being selected to go there was huge for me. So
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed and got a lot of learning. So, and like you said, a lot of guys that are listening to this podcast right now are going through this, right? They're going through all this state cup and regionals and nationals. So it's the how are you gonna work? How are you gonna work to get there? It's a big deal, but for me, the biggest thing was off the field. You know, I always be professional, always work hard off the field.
Yeah.
You know, don't try to do extra stuff that doesn't need to be done. If you can be professional off the field, that's half the battle, in my opinion. You know, we can mentors out there. We can teach you how to referee. People can teach you and give you the right tools to make you a decent referee, but there's no way we can make you a decent human being if it's not in you. You know, that's all you. So I think 50% of the battle is off the field stuff. So just, you know, humble, be professional, and treat everybody the same. And I think people will definitely go a long way in that route. I can tell you for a fact that a lot of the guys that are where they are today is 50% off the field stuff.
Yeah.
Just being professional.
So much good stuff in that. You might, if you're listening, you might want to run that back and re-listen again, because there's a lot of really good points to take away, talking about off the field stuff, talking about just your journey and how those lows impacted and shaped you. And you didn't let that have kind of the final word over your development, right? You were able to go, okay. And you're able to process that with key people. And I know sometimes that's a different in way people learn. I'm an extrovert. So if something happens in a game, I'm like, I get the clip and I fire that thing off on iMessage and whatever else to 7 people and tell me
what you think. Yeah.
How bad was it? Right. And what can I do with that kind of thing? But I know for some, that's a little bit of a stretch. And so, you know, being able to stretch yourself a little bit and be vulnerable with the people in your life that you trust that can help you get better. Like you said, there is so huge. I think that's fantastic. So let me get into just a little bit before we kind of wrap up here. I'm sad that we have to wrap up because this has been such a good conversation, but I'm curious about, you talked about management and dealing with, and we even talked about before we jumped on, dealing at the different levels of soccer and the different, you know, settings of soccer in our domestic area here in the United States. But as you manage players, as you deal with players, that is kind of right. That's a huge dividing point or a line that sets people apart for the next level. How do they manage players? You know, we talked about even this last week, and we taught a couple entry-level clinics in Kansas, and I said, you know, guys, these young U10, U12 games that you're starting on, that's where you learn all the weird laws, because that's where the weirdest stuff tends to happen, right? But give it a few more years, and when you move to the 11v11s, then it's less weird stuff, and it's more dealing with a little bit of attitude and figuring out how you manage that. So for you, how have you, at least for, I'm curious about this, I think there's others, how do you manage that? How do you manage the players on the field, the attitudes, the difference between passionate, right? Because it's a passionate game. Yeah. And now we move to inappropriate and how we manage that. You can run with this question however you want.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I think right now, the biggest thing in refereeing is, can you manage players? Mm-hmm. And why did this happen? Because of VAR. So right now we can make decisions where, okay, we all have made wrong decisions, right? We all have made mistakes, but now we have a tool that can help us to fix it. So we have this tool. So if you miss a penalty, you know, it's going to happen, but now we have a tool that can help you. But there's no tool to help you manage players. It's never going to happen. That's only you. You can know how to deal with that. So that's the hardest part, I believe, in refereeing now. And we see more and more referees. I mean, if you look at the World Cup, it's all about managing players. It's all about how you manage those players and how you deal with them. But that's the key, and I think you hit on it, is how do you manage the emotions versus the ones that are really going at you and that are inappropriate versus those that is just an outrage emotion of the game that are that is happening, a call that they thought didn't go their way, or stuff like that. So, this, and I think we've talked a little bit before when I was there. My personality is a very calm personality. I'm a very calm, not a lot of things face me. So when people come at me, I tend to be very calm. This helped me come all the way up. I can guarantee you that helped me definitely diffuse situations like that. But now coming into pro, I had to find a balance to where, like, I can't just be calm and relax all the time. There needs to be a time and place where now you need to be, and I'm not talking about being a douchebag. I'm talking about being the bigger man. I'm just talking about standing up and holding your ground and saying, hey, enough is enough. So how do you find that ground, right? How do you find that ground? And I think it's going to you, to where is it a passionate moment of the game where he's just passionate about, maybe he has 2 or 3 bad touches, he misses 2 or 3 goals, and then I call a foul and he's frustrated. But you can tell that he's frustrated from his own game and not at you, versus the guy that is just coming into your face. So how do you deal with those two, right? Maybe with one, you deal now with the calm referee's aspect. Hey, I know you're pissed, I know you're tired, I know things might not be going your way, but you cannot let it translate to the rest of your game. So stay with me. Versus the guy not coming into your face, telling you this, and that. And that's when you have to be strong and say what you have to say, Tell him, hey, we're not having this year, but now with the demeanor that is telling you you're pissed as well, you're not just calm, now you're pissed. The only thing I will say is don't get to their level. Once you get to their level, you lost. That's my opinion there. Once you get to the level, you lost. You have to stay calm, but firm, or calm in a nice talk way. That's my advice on that. And there's so many ways you can go at it. So I know everybody's different. Everybody has a different way of managing players like that. So that has worked with me so far. And I'm telling you, till tomorrow, a month from now, years from now, I'm still not going to be perfect, and I'm still going to be learning, because it's the only way. The game keeps evolving, things keep changing. So we had to adapt to it. I think that was my learning from that. I had to adapt from being the calm always guy to now you can still be the calm guy, but now we need another guy. We need a little bit more pissed guy, in other words, but without getting to that same attitude as the player. Always stay professional, always stay composed, but you have to show that it's not always happy. You got to be pissed once in a while.
Yeah,
I hope that's the best way I can put that one, because I know it's a big topic right now on player management, and I think it's the hardest one to train. I think it's the hardest one to show referees how to do, because each play is different. And you talked about this, is every time somebody commits a foul, there's about 5 ways you can manage it. So it's how you're feeling on the game, how the game is going. You could have a game under control, and then here comes a crazy tackle, and you have to deal with it. But how are you going to deal with it? Are you just going to show cards, or are you going to deal more with it? So it depends on so many things, and I think that's why it's so hard to teach it, because we can teach reckless, we can teach serious foul play. Those are easy to teach, because we're watching a video, or we're watching a play, and there's considerations for those, right? Like this is what makes it reckless, this is what makes it serious foul play. But for player management, there's no considerations. It's more the feeling of the match and what is going on. So I think that one, we're going to see more and more of development referees, and trying to see how can we teach to get that into the youth. And like you said, you cannot manage a player at a U11 game the same you will manage at a U15 game, the same you will manage at a U18, the same you manage college, semi-pro, and pro. It's all different. So everything it's that day and what happens that day and how you felt to deal with it. So that's my advice for that one. But it's definitely a long. We could be talking for 45 minutes just on player management for sure.
Absolutely. We could do a whole series of podcasts probably on that, and still not even really scratch the surface.
Close to it,
And there's so many variables, like you said, and I think that's at least for me at my very. I'm nowhere near in my referee career the same level, but I think if you've done it for any length of time, you've run into this challenge. It's just part of, and I think there's some days where, and maybe you feel this too, but there's some days where you're up for the challenge and it's exciting and you're like, I can, a lot of this is probably trial and error. what works, what doesn't. Let's see how we can exist in this weird gray area of our sport and see how it works. And then there's other days where you're like, can it just be like a football game where if it's pass interference, it's pass interference, and I just get to throw
have a calm game and that's it. I don't want to deal with anybody. I've had those. Trust me, I've had those even at the next level. It's like I don't want to deal with anybody today. I'm just throwing yellows and red cards here, but we can go out battle like that. You got to try your best to, even when you're not feeling it, you still have to be out there and try your best to manage these things. And like you said, maybe some days you're not going to feel like you want to manage those. So maybe that day you manage it differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pass interference is probably a bad example on my part.
That is a very bad example.
That's a terrible example.
Very
that has been. So maybe something else. I don't know. Illegal shift. I don't know.
Illegal shift.
I don't know football.
Hands to the face. Hands to the face. Something like that. Yeah. That's a good one.
Right. Yeah. So very good. So there's a lot of pieces of that. And speaking of American football, but you guys, a lot of what we talk about is football understanding that's trickled down. That language has trickled down, especially from FIFA, and then you guys at the CONCACAF and everything. It's really being adopted into our areas. So I think a lot of what you've described in your playing experience, but also just going out and doing games and seeing reps
that's literally the way. Yeah.
That's just kind of the way you have to do it. So that's definitely sounds like it's been part of your story. One other follow-up question on you talked about learning and that you are always learning. I'm curious, what does, and again, this is off script, so I apologize. I'll have to pay you extra for
this. You're good.
No, but how do you, and I know you have a little bit more tools at your disposal, being where you're at in your career, but what does getting better look like? How do you get better?
Yeah, so I think the tool part is the huge. We have a little bit more tools. So we have access to the league, right? So we referee in this league where we see players every weekend in the sense of not only my games, but we watch the other games. We have players on that we see every day. We have camps every 2 weeks, which is a huge tool. So we see what players come up more than others on things like this. So I know which players, when I go into a game, how I'm going to deal with them before I even get to a game, which a lot of people don't have that opportunity, right? When you're going to a game, you don't know what you're going to expect. We know what we're going to expect. So now we have to be prepared and how are we going to manage with him before we even get to the game. But we already know how we're going to do it because we have the homework of knowing these players. So if for some of the listeners here that do college games, right? You might know what schools have these players that you've been refereeing for them 2 or 3 years. So you can go back and say, hey, number 5 from blah, blah, blah university is one of those that likes to talk a lot, likes to get in referee space, likes to complain a lot. So now when you can talk to your peers and say, hey, I have this university today. Do you know any player? Oh, yeah, this guy, he tends to come a little bit more aggressive than others. So now you're prepared. So now it doesn't come out of surprise out of nowhere. You're like, oh, which just happened versus, it's coming. So now you're prepared for it and you have a plan to do it. So I think those tools helped us get better in management because we know what players to deal with, what players are calm. And we can have a conversation with them and say, hey, control this guy. This guy can't be doing that versus comes out of nowhere. So I think that's the biggest tool we have, honestly, homework and knowing the players and knowing the teams, knowing the tactics. And again, for us, it's easy because we go every 2 weeks to a camp. So we see plays after plays after plays. We go over player management. We go over tactical. We go over everything. So it makes it easier for us to see which players stand out more than others.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. But you're right. That is something that is becoming more accessible as, things on the internet, video, all sorts of stuff is becoming more and more accessible. But
when we were coming up 35 years ago, we didn't have access to this, access to all the access we have today. So
it's amazing. I mean, we even just getting it through our state cups in the spring and in the summer events. I mean, there's a VO camera on every field now.
On every game. It's great. It's amazing. I mean, there's no excuses anymore. And I think this goes back now a little bit of talking, having somebody to help you. Now every game is basically somewhat streamed. So, and pretty sure we can have access to them if we asked.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, basically they could give us access. So that's a great tool that we didn't have. Back then when we were coming up, we had to ask somebody to come watch us. That was the only way you can get feedback, because somebody had to come watch you. If nobody came, then it was over. Now you get a video, you send it, like you said, send it to 7 people and say, hey, what do you guys think about this? What can I do better?
Mm-hmm.
So I think those tools now are helping us get a little bit more coaching, makes it more easier and facilitating for guys to get more opportunities to be looked at 100%.
And I'll throw this out too. I think it's better for the game too, because we, at least in our area, when we reach out to so I work with a lot of our high school and college officials in Kansas City, and it's when we reach out to them before the season to say, hey guys, if you're using Huddle, if you're using VO, Trace, whatever your medium is, we would love to be able to get a hold of that to share with our officials.
Right.
That immediately breaks down some walls and some barriers to go, especially at the youth level and even at the collegiate level, but at any level really, but especially at those levels where it's like, we're all in this together for the sake of the game, player development, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're listening to this in your neck of the woods, wherever you are, isn't getting access to video, it doesn't take a formal process. It's just simply, even if it's just going to the game and you see the camera set up before the game and you go, could I give you my email address? Would you mind sending me that? It's just as simple as that.
All it takes. I agree. That's literally all it takes. 2 seconds.
And 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to get it from them. In fact, I'd be shocked if you didn't. Usually if you didn't, it's because they forgot. It's not because they didn't want to. So,
correct.
But anyway, kind of our wrap-up question here. I've loved to ask this question to folks. If you could go back and look at yourself first year, first month, first day, when you were getting ready, knowing what you know now, if you could go back and look at yourself, is there anything you would want to share with yourself?
I mean, back then in 2006, right when I started, I would say the only thing I would tell myself is don't be afraid to make mistakes when you go out there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was as soon as I got the thing, my first thing was like, oh my God, what if I make mistakes? And then parents and teams are going to start playing. But I think that's natural. But you try to make everything perfect, try to achieve perfection, and it's never going to happen. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think that goes on to my motto. I always tell new guys coming up, 3 things that resonate with me and that will help me to where I am today. And if I may, easy. First one is find yourself a mentor. I think that's huge. Find somebody that can help you. And now with the access of videos that we were talking about, you can send him your videos. And this is not an assessor, right? This is not an assessor that is just here for one game. This is somebody that you work with weekly, monthly, whatever it is. Then you send them and they're going to give you their honest feedback on plays and not just sugarcoat it. That will help you a long way. I guess the second one is take every game serious. You never know how opportunities come. I remember my opportunity was at back in the days when DA, right, Development Academy showcase were there. I was in a game in Lake Great Ranches here in Florida, and Brian Hall was watching the game in front of me. Well, the game gets 15 minutes delay for some reason with the team, so he turns around and I'm on the other match, and that's how he saw me, and that's how my opportunity started to come. So you never know when your opportunity could happen. So you have to take every game serious, whether it's a youth games or it's a college games, no matter what it is. And then the last one is one game at a time. Don't worry about the college D1 that you have 3 weeks from now. Worried about the NAIA game that you have now, because that one is the one that is going to build you to get you to that third one. So those are my 3 advices that I always give people when they ask me for what can I do to stay in this path and go to the next level.
That's fantastic. Great stuff, man. Well, like I said, I could listen to you and chat with you for a long, long time, but we've got to hang it up here. Thank you so much for your time, and just really appreciate your insights. And we will continue to cheer you on. You have an audience and some fans that will be cheering you on as you continue to pursue your goals. And as we watch you guys work, you and others, I mean, there's so much that we can learn as we sit and watch these games. So we appreciate you, being a role model for so many people, and we're excited to see where your career continues to go. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys for doing this. I know a lot of guys that are listening here will appreciate this, and we don't have access to this, so the fact that you guys were able to create this, to give the opportunity back to those guys So it's not even about us. It's thank you guys to putting this together to give it back to them. So really appreciate it. We're just here to help out. So
That's
thanks
right.
for having.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We appreciate it. All right, this has been episode 5, season 2, episode 5 of the Check Complete podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it with us. We've had some fun conversations. We've nerded out a little bit, and it's time to say goodbye, sadly. PJ, thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Best wishes to you as you pursue your goals, both professionally outside of the game and on the pitch. We wish you the best in that whole process. So if there's anything we can do to help, be sure to ask someone else. As far as reaching back out to us, we'd love to hear from you. The Check Complete podcast team would love to hear your suggestions just as much as we'd love to hear about PJ's hopes and dreams for his life. So reach out to us at check_complete on Instagram and Twitter, Check Complete Podcast on the Book of Faces, info at checkcompletepodcast.com from over email. So we'd love to hear from you guys if you have suggestions or things. And also, we are still accepting submissions for our Nerd Out items. Okay, so if you have those, we will add you to the Magical Cup of Drawing mini strips. That's the official title. And we'll add you to that, and you can be eligible to win one of many wonderful prizes that we have available. So we'd love to hear from you on that. Please submit those to us. All right. Well, it's time to say goodbye, PJ.
Goodbye.
So sad. So sad. Goodbye. Thanks for watching the Check Complete podcast.